I believe one of the best ways to get better at pull-ups is to make them feel as easy and fluent as possible. So I'm going to show you some exercises and a few drills you can do to make pull-ups feel a lot easier. Now, there are a million different ways to do more pull-ups. You can check out the Armstrong program. You can listen to your buddy giving you advice at the gym. I don't really think there's any wrong way to increase the amount of volume that you do. And eventually more volume and working out will lead to more reps. But when I was competing for the world records for pull-ups, I just learned a few different ways to maximize my training and really amplify the effects of certain exercises to hyper-focus on certain muscle groups that are involved in pull-ups. Because when you go for a world record, you can't necessarily follow traditional training advice. You have to kind of feel it out and make it up yourself. The reason I say that is because there's no training advice for the real outliers who are trying to break world records for pull-ups. The Armstrong program that I referenced before, great training protocol for the average person trying to increase their reps and trying to max like a physical fitness test or something. But when you go for a world record, you have to really like nitpick and break down certain muscle groups because you're trying to push the standard so much further than the average. So I want to talk about just some tips and tricks that I've learned through my own training and through my own experimentation that have really amplified the effect of doing pull-ups and making them feel a lot easier. So the first thing I want to talk about is positioning on the bar. And I've talked about this before, but it's called scapula engagement. So usually when we grab onto the bar, we are in a full dead hang, full lockout. And you can do pull-ups from that position. But as you increase volume, you increase risk of injury, and your efficiency in the pulling pattern isn't as ideal as it could be. So all scapula engagement is kind of a reverse shrug. So I'm in a full dead hang. I want to activate and pull my shoulders down and lift my chest up. So this is the position you want to be in. You are still fully locked out with your arms. It just makes you a lot more powerful in this position. And it's a lot safer on your shoulders, especially when dealing with lots of volume. So now I'm going to show you some weight training exercises you can do to drastically increase your pulling power. I personally believe the bent over row is the most applicable and has the most crossover to doing a pull-up. The reason for this is because we are pulling with both arms, you are in a nice neutral strong position, and you can increase the weight to a pretty heavy weight to increase power in the pulling position. So bent over rows, maybe even throw in some pauses, isometrics. You can really do it however you like, but these are a staple when increasing pull-up strength and pull-up power. So the next exercise I want to talk about is the single arm bent over row. So usually in the bodybuilding world, we are trying to focus and target our lats here. So we kind of pull our elbow backwards and you can feel it engage your lat more in this position. So what I've learned through my training and trying to specify which muscles are involved in a pull-up, the lats are definitely one of them, but what I want to do is focus on my brachioradialis because this is a hard muscle to target. So basically, we're going to take the bent over row and change it a little bit. Instead of having a hammer or neutral grip, you're going to have a pronated palm facing down front grip, and we are going to pull our elbow to the side and let that weight hit just underneath our chest. This is a great exercise for targeting the brachialis, which is in here, and also the brachioradialis, which is right here, which is a really dominant muscle in the pulling pattern. This also decreases the stability in this position, so you have to stabilize with your core. And as you move up in heavier weight, you will feel this in the pocket of your elbow so much, and that's going to improve the power and stability on the pull-up bar. So the next exercise I want to talk about is just a traditional bicep curl. When we do pull-ups, our biceps are not really that activated. And so having a little more support and focus on my bicep, just in the training aspect, so it can help as a complementary muscle and stability muscle when doing pull-ups, because they're usually more dominantly used when doing chin-ups with our hands facing towards us. When we're in the pull-ups, it's more lats and forearms. But it does act as a supporting muscle group, and having as much support and stability as possible does help when making pull-ups feel easier. This next one is just rear delt flies, which is where we stand with the weights in front of us and then bring them outwards. And when you get into the rhythm of this, you can really feel the muscles near your scapula and near your upper spine engaging, especially when we try to slow the movement down, because as they contract, they're going to contract in, and as we resist on the way down, they're going to really engage to help eccentrically lower that weight nice and softly back down. And what we're trying to do is develop scapula stability and engagement in like the rhomboids and the traps. That way you have a nice pull pattern, especially in that beginning exercise when we do that scapula engagement. It just allows for scapular retraction and more stability. So for the more advanced people out there that are really trying to skyrocket their numbers, I really feel like nothing beats doing weighted pull-ups. And you can have a weight belt on so you don't have to hold a dumbbell between your legs, but if a dumbbell is all you have, just put a dumbbell between your legs, grab onto the bar, and rep it out. This right here will amplify your pull-up strength. It'll make you feel lighter when you take the weight off. And it's just probably the most well-rounded way to do more pull-ups. Everything else is just a stabilizer or an enhancement exercise. This right here will develop the proper strength to doing more reps. Another exercise that I really recommend would be farmer's holds or farmer's walks. So all that means is picking up 2 heavy dumbbells. These are pretty light. 2 heavy dumbbells and just either holding them by your sides or walking with them. When we walk with them, it translates the force onto each arm and you have to like stabilize and balance yourself. And so it's a little more challenging to walk with them, but holding them is just as good. And you just hold in this position. And the reason I like doing this over dead hang is because I feel like I get more circulation when my hands are below me than when my hands are above my head, because my heart doesn't have to pump as hard to get the blood to my hands. And I just feel like it's more of it just feels like a better training exercise. This next one is actually going to be 2 exercises. It's going to involve the forearm flexion and forearm extension. So these are just called forearm curls. Usually you have a platform underneath. You can use your other arm, whatever you need, and find out what the right weight is just by trial and error. And you're just flexing your wrist towards your body. Then for extension, we just flip that weight over. Same thing, rest right here and pull backwards. And you can see now I'm working out the tops of my forearms. And this is a really good exercise to just help well around everything top and bottom of the forearm. So this last thing is going to involve my Kensui Fitness paddle bar handles. This allows you to create internal pressure with your palms while pulling on the bar and really compress against your fingers, which just feels really good. And it puts your hands in a neutral position as you pull, which just means instead of having a fully pronated pull position, we are now hammer pull and in a nice neutral position for our shoulders. And this just activates different muscle groups. As I'm here, I can push in with my hands and really get that core compression strength and pull all the way through. And I feel really powerful using these. So great training tool, especially for power. But that's all I have for today's tips and tricks for easier pull-ups. Hopefully some of these help you. You don't have to use all of them. You don't have to use any of them, but I do recommend giving them a try, seeing what works for you, seeing what doesn't, and using as many methods as possible to achieve your goals.